All right, good morning, everyone. Let's call this meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. Allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence, reflection, please. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're going to start roll call. We're going to start remote. We'll start in Reno. Board members, please.
Mr. Charlie.
Milwaukee serving Douglas County Pest Control.
Good morning, Charlie Frey, Churchill County Crops.
We'll move to Las Vegas, Mr. Coon. Can you hear us?
Yes, this is on mute.
Well, we'll go back around. Mr. Pete Harris,
Is that?
right here.
Yes. I didn't know we started. I'm still waiting for the other. I know, that was.
Commissioner Barlow.
Here.
Ms. Valerie Drake. Here. Chairman Woody Worthington.
Here, present.
Mr. Dwayne Coon.
Here.
Online, Mr. Jim Snyder.
yes, I'm here.
Ray, can you hear us in Las Vegas?
I'm sorry, are you talking to me?
Nope, I'm trying to get our Las Vegas people, if they can hear me.
Okay, excuse me.
They
I can
couldn't.
hear you, but it's a little quiet.
Oh, I can
there
hear you.
they are.
Quiet. Mr. Coon, are you present?
We're good to go.
Chairman, would you like to mark him as present?
We'll mark him as present, both of them.
Okay.
Perfect, thank you. Moving along.
Tested it on yesterday.
Yes, absolutely. Let's do that.
Mr. Doug Ferris.
Here.
Ms. Kate,
We're having a hard time hearing you from here.
Sam, why don't you just ask who is in each of the
Can you
rooms?
hear us all right?
apologies. If you are online and you're joining from the Nevada Department of Agriculture, can you please say that you are present?
Good morning, Cadence Matievich, Administrator for the Division of Measurement Standards, present.
Good morning, Homa Anoshapur, the Administrator for Division of Food and Nutrition, present.
Good morning, Ashley Jepson, Division Administrator for Plant Health and Compliance, present.
Amber Smyer, Literacy Coordinator, present.
Andy Lopez, PIO for the Nevada Department of Agriculture, present.
Bill Strajewski, Senior Petroleum Chemist, Measurement Standards, Nevada Department of Agriculture, present.
Well, Samantha Dolan, present.
Oh, we already did, Director Ott.
All right, we got through that. All right, amazing. All right, good to go. Roll call done. We have public comments. We have a few of those, Sam. Go ahead and give us kind of a lowdown on what public comments all about.
Chairman, would you like me to start with the ones that were already submitted and read those?
let's do the ones that are submitted then online, please.
All right. We do have 2 submitted public comments for today's meeting. The first one is from the Nevada Cattlemen's Association from their president, John Griggs. He writes, "Dear Director Ott, in the fall of 2018 at our annual convention, we hosted a panel discussion about bovine trichomoniasis in Nevada. The panel included veterinarians and producers from Nevada and neighboring states. From that discussion and survey we conducted afterwards, it was clear that trichomoniasis is and will affect production and commerce for our producers in Nevada. It was also clear that the vast majority think that the current regulations, NRS 571.600 inclusive, aren't working, and most of the producers there favor full mandatory statewide testing annually of herd bulls. We as an association then asked the department engage in the process of reworking the statutes to have meaningful black and white regulations that move us toward controlling, if not eradicating, trichomoniasis in Nevada. We appreciate your efforts to date and thank you for your efforts to include the voices of all producers in the process. We urge the department at a minimum to vet these ideas in the workshop process. Full mandatory annual statewide testing of bulls for trichomoniasis with multiple concurrent tests required to clear an infected herd. Employ a zone system where there will be mandatory testing of bulls in a zone with an infected herd, or mandatory testing of bulls for herds that neighbor an infected herd. No brain inspection will be given to a herd on hold order for trichomoniasis. Breeding stock leaving their district must be accompanied by a health certificate which shows that bulls or the bulls the cows were exposed to are trich negative. Breeding stock en route to slaughter excluded. We appreciate your consideration and stand ready to assist the department in the process. Sincerely, John Griggs. The other written comments.
Twice.
It's from Maureen Weissep. I am Maureen Weissep contacting you at the request of John Griggs, Cattleman and Nevada Cattlemen's president. I am not sure how to begin except step right into the problem. On Sunday, I worked a group of 72 cows and 23 spring calves. Included were 4 2021 fall calves that I weaned, which is what I typically do. The problem is only 23 spring calves. My calf crop on 390 head last year, 2021, was 92%. This year, I am struggling to attain a 48% calf crop. I know the math doesn't work, but I want it to. Do you know that with the calf prices in August, I have lost well over $100,000. My vet, Dr. Randy Wolfstrom, is working on this with me. We don't know at this time what caused this to happen, but most signs are pointing to trichomoniasis. I will tell you that many of my neighbors have it, which you probably already know. The unfortunate part, only one neighbor called me on it. From my past 2 experiences with trich in the past 30 years, this is what I have done and what I would do with a positive herd. Dr. Wolfstrom trich tested 14 bulls for me last November 2021. No positives. Any positive bulls would have been sold marked for slaughter only. All bulls would have been tested 3 times, and for the next 3 years, I would probably still test 3 times. All cows would have remained away from any bull for at least 90 days. We don't know, as I said before, if this is a trich problem for me. We are doing blood tests for mineral deficiencies and will preg check in October. This loss is devastating. I have had conversations with some producers, and it is quite scary at some of their actions. Trich is a total management problem. The bad part is it affects everyone around you. I would not want to do that to my neighbor. If Nevada can't come up with mandatory trich regulations as every state has around us, what the heck? As John said, it puts more money in their pocket. How can that not be a good thing? You would not believe some of the unfortunate handling of trich herds by our producers. Whether my problem is trichomoniasis or not, something has to be done. Stupidity is going way too far.
Yes, please. Thank you.
If you are joining us online and you would like to make public comment, you can hover over your name on the Zoom and raise your hand. Chairman, I see no additional public comment.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll close public comment. We're going to move to agenda item number 3, the approval of the minutes from June 8, 2022. Board, please take a look at that. a second, please.
We like scrambled eggs.
Here you go. Here, just.
Here, can I make a motion?
Yes.
That we approve the minutes.
First on the floor for a motion. We got a first and a second to approve the June 8, 2022 minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. It's so moved. Thank you. Move to agenda item number 4, board member updates and representation for the industry. We're going to start remotely. try to get around the room. We'll start with Jim Snyder, please. Or not. Can we- All right, let's move to Reno.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Good morning, this is Heather Lackey with Douglas County, working pest control, and I have to say that everything's going well and wonderful as far as I can see in our industry. Grateful that we've got some rain finally. It's been nice, kind of moving the smoke out a little bit, makes it a little bit easier on us out there working. I don't really have a whole lot to bring to the table today, just keeping it short and sweet. Grateful that there's a little bit less rocks in the road recently. Just moving along, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Charlie Frey, representing Churchill County. I'm concerned about two major things, both for Nevada and our nation. And one of them, I think all the farmers and ranchers are having hard financial times right now. Their net income for most farms and ranching is declining, while their debt service keeps going up because of interest rates. That's a major concern, not only for Nevada farmers and ranchers, but all the nation. And then I have another concern, and it's about China coming in and buying a lot of agriculture land around the U.S. naval or air bases and military stations. And it has increased considerably since 2010. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, there was 13,720 acres owned by Chinese. And now there's over 352,148. They've really been stepped up. China has really started stepping up and buying more ag property. And I think that's a concern for our entire nation as well as Nevada. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frey. I appreciate that. Let's go to Las Vegas.
Yes, all know, presenting nursery industry. Don't have a lot to report, like Heather had said. We're just thankful for the cooler weather that we've had and more moisture. It's helping to take care of plant material much better. As far as itself, we seem to be doing pretty well, holding fairly steady with sales this summer. Things have been going along pretty well, except for the water situation, which we're all concerned about very much. And that's really about all we have to report.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman, this is Dave Kuhn, and I'm actually off camera. I apologize for that, but
I'm sitting right next to the monitor. I have a hearing problem. And so it's just better that I sit here so that I can hear. Just briefly, a report on the dairy industry. I can tell you that the milk output in the nation is flat to decreasing. It's not at an alarming pace at this point, but that's just kind of where it is. That's particularly with the heat, the late summer heat that's continuing, has continued to stress the cows and thus impacting their production volumes. High feed costs along with the higher temperatures and declining herd populations have all contributed to a continued higher dairy price. Consumers still value good nutrition and good health, fortunately. As I've reported in the past, states such as Nevada should be grateful, the producers, processors, and the consumers, that we have ongoing oversight by our regulatory agency. The department does a good job, and as I said, the state of Nevada ought to be grateful for that oversight and supervision. So if I need to move back in and sit next to Paul, I'm happy to do that, but I can hear much better here and catch the essence of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. What's up? Yeah, you can sit by him if you want to. It's no big deal. We can hear you.
I like Paul a great deal, but I can hear better right here.
All right, fair enough. I'm gonna leave that one alone. I'm not gonna comment. Did we get a hold of Mr. Snyder? Are you out there?
Yes, I think so. Do you hear me now?
Awesome. Yes.
Okay. Things are fast and furious in Lyon County with carrot harvest, onion harvest, the other vegetable crops being harvested. We're still, drought is very much impacting us. Of course, we're pretty much out of irrigation water at this time, at a time when we could still be using some. Garlic harvest is pretty well wrapped up, and that's about all I have at the moment. However, I am curious more about to hear more about Charlie's concern about the Chinese buying of farmland around military bases. Does anyone know of a study that's been done on that, as far as, you know, I guess I would like to see mapping, and is there any concern at the federal level or any action being contemplated? Thank you.
I can touch on that a little bit. With Jim,
Yes.
last few months I've been in contact with a couple of, well, both our senators, and it's on their radar.
Thank you.
They're looking pretty hard. They're hopefully maybe in probably not this round, but after the first of the year, they're going to start pushing some legislation through Congress to stop it.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a serious concern.
It's actually on bipartisan radar, which is a good thing in our
Right.
status the way it is now. Just a little bit of bipartisanship would be great.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, I agree. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I appreciate it. Anybody else out there that we have?
No, Chairman, not online.
All right, Mr. Cooper.
Well, Pete Paris with the Nevada Wool Growers, Delta County. Right now, really took a nosedive since our last meeting, and I guess that it started a little bit before the last meeting. My last interpretation of the land market was $3 a pound in March. And by our movement to land and done a lot of things, I didn't pay a lot of attention to stuff. Mr. Sorry for that, what's his name? I forgot the name. Can't say it. Board representative. No.
Ration?
No. He's on the board with us, but he's not here today. Great Basin Ranch.
Oh,
Bernard.
Bernard.
Sorry, Bernard.
It's all right, it's a tough day. I was
corrected me about the last
Southern Nevada water.
was going down, so I went home and checked it. Well, yes, it had gone down, But if we had that market today, we would be totally happy. Right now, there's a zero land market. People are taking lambs to feedlots because there's nobody to touch it. We are shipping this weekend. Our lambs are going to South Dakota to a feedlot. $80,000 worth of trucking and $100,000 a month in feed. Instead of receiving a paycheck, that's what we're going to start. So right now, the sheep industry is totally in the tank. We know why. Some of it was they claimed the market got too high, lamb chops got too high. Australia is importing it rapidly. And
Yeah.
it's-
You just nailed it.
it's a mess. The sheep industry right now is a scary, very scary process. The only thing that can say is we still have a quite a large predator problem. Most people are seeing a lot. There's no rabbits. We're still having it. The only thing is we're losing something we don't have rabbits. Anyway, it's sad and doom and gloom, but right now it's a sad situation in the sheep business. That's all I have. Sorry.
Valerie Drake, the petroleum industry. I'm a bad guy. Field prices like they are.
Not your fault.
I don't see them. I don't see anything changing. It's kind of leveled out. Futures have been going down, but I'm not seeing it in the middleman or the top of the food chain. They seem to be holding on to their profits. And time it gets down to you guys, it's high. So I guess the good thing is it's staying steady. They'll go down too, because everybody's still busy. All my farmers and ag people are still working on the men's side, so. Sorry, no good news on my end either.
Yes. In the state of Nevada, we have oil reserves. We even have a refinery. Is there any way the state could, even though it's on federal land, is there any way the state could push that and promote that?
Well, that's one of the causes of high prices. We have so small refineries. The last one built was like in 1977. Cost too much. They make too much profit not building, just, keeping their refineries they have now at 100%. We're trying to have a market.
The one refinery in Railroad Valley is only running about 10%.
And it doesn't, and they might not be able to refine what government regulations is.
That's true.
Yeah, and, people talk about, getting the oil from Canada, but as a nation, we take high quality crude. We don't even use most of ours. Most of ours gets shipped out. Texas, it's pretty much, we use that crude, but we like sweet crude. Stuck up here, so.
Well, the sweet crude is cheaper to refine too.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Less waste out of it.
yeah.
Just a thought.
I know.
Thank you, Valerie. Let's see. Woody Worthington, for the record, I represent Douglas County General Ag, but I've been, since we last talked, I've been to probably about 15 of the 17 counties. It's been really remarkable, very fortunate. I've seen some ag industry that's been good. I went down to Lincoln County, spent some time down there, went into Elko Wells, just got back from Eureka County, had a good opportunity to work with the range people, the sheep guys up there. They were in BLM allotments. The range is short. They're making it work. The predator is an issue. While we were there, we saw 2 cats while we were roaming around in the area. So something to be cognizant of, but very fortunate to get out there and see what the ag producers are doing. It's tough times that we're at. We're just keep it on. But I appreciate it and I look forward to seeing you. If I haven't seen you, I'm sure I'll be out there to see you. So thank you very much.
For the record, Dwayne Combs, I semi-range out of Lander County. For the range folks, you know, we're very grateful for the monsoon stuff that we got. And now I know Pete, I've got a ewe that's been running with my cows for going on 2 years now. Now I know why the fellow from Utah doesn't want to come and get her. So she thinks she's a cow. We're trying a cross-breeding program. So if we could get a Q or something going, I'll let you know. But she's a herd leader, and she likes to travel. But you know, very grateful for the moisture. I think BLM is continuing on with some wild horse work. Very grateful for that. I see those horse trucks going up and down the highway pretty consistently, and I think we're starting to make a dent in some of that. I know at least on our rangeland, it makes a huge difference, especially when the beach short. You know, the trick issue, I think that this is something that looking forward to the process that we need to get into to kind of at least draw some boundaries, settle some of the questions. I worry a little bit about that as far as the enforceability. How with the department, especially the animal industry part of it's kind of stretched anyway. How are we going to enforce additional? You know, we're just piling things on. You know, so if we go to a place where we have to have the brand inspector go and say, I can't give you brand inspection, we're having a tough time getting brand inspectors to, you know, it puts those folks in a tough position. And so I think that we need to be cognizant of coming up with something that's enforceable. You know, so other than that, I think, you know, the cattle market seems to be doing pretty well. We're fairly happy with what we're looking at. I know there's been a lot of cattle inventories are nationwide are down. It looks like that the beef side of things might be looking good for a while. That's all I have.
Thank you.
I make one comment to reiterate what he's saying about the wild horses.
Sure.
They just gathered several, I forget the exact number that they were shooting for, but in the triple B, which goes in 3 use areas, we're in the last B, the ball. They never even got to our house or to our area. They filled their quota so full, clear over on the other side of the gathering area that they didn't even get to the ball mountain area. We're overwhelmed with wild. We have 20 head of wild horses on private property right now.
There's a trying to, there's a ranch over by one of my kids trying to open it up. They can, a pretty big fight is whole hard.
So they are trying. I mean, it's going somewhere, but it's a small band. They are big.
Me, Mr. Hayden. So, speaking of wild horses, I'll start off with that. I was contacted by a group out of Utah and one out of Wyoming that requested that I put my name in for the Wild Horse Burrow Commission, BLM's Wild Horse Burrow Commission. It's a 7-seat board. And so I did that. And I would like to ask a letter of recommendation from the Department of Ag to help me acquire that seat because it's a coveted seat. And the gentleman that stepped down was a gentleman by the name of Steve Yardley, which runs a cattle operation in Beaver, Utah, and also they raise registered Herefords, or used to raise registered. I think they still do and sell semen. They're a big operation. Been in that part of Utah for 5 generations or something. Losing his seat or letting him stepping down, we need somebody in the livestock industry. Southern Nevada, we got really lucky. 45 days ago, I was telling Woody that down there looked just like the top of this table. And you got to see it now. The salt grasses have come. Of course, it's like flooded us all away. In fact, as soon as I leave here, I got to go back. I then have to duck out on the tour. I got flooding all over Lincoln County. I need to get back. I'm over the road department there. So I may end up camping in a truck or a blade for 2 or 3 days trying to fix floods. But anyway, it's really come. Can't speak, sounds like the storms. Northern Nevada is still struggling a little bit for storm. More through, all I'd say is if you get it and it stays warm, it will grow like crazy. You'll have food belly. Trick is I'd let it stay warm long enough for those to feed. So we're probably all right going into the winter. I just got a report from 2 different sale barns. The calves, 5-weight calves are up over $2, $2.10, $2.15. Some places heifers are down back out about 7 cents, 10 cents off. So that market's looking up. And like I say, the other concerns that I have are one that I've already discussed with our congressional delegation. That some of them from our delegation don't really want to represent us or don't even want to speak to us because all the voting block comes out of Clark County. And we really don't care. Amadai is great. Northern Nevada is lucky to have him. He's a super advocate for the livestock industry, the Department of Ag and Agriculture in general. But Southern end, sometimes they don't think that agriculture even exists. And somehow we need to get to where we can educate them to a point that there is agriculture in Southern Nevada and you need to represent it on the congressional level, not just blow us off. Which folds, all that folds into also at the wild horse burrow. Part of that is educators. They don't know. I sat a year ago, over a year ago, and almost 2 years ago, I sat down with Dina Titus when she was first in there, her and Susie Lee, and tried to explain. They didn't have a clue about the wild horse program that was right in their own backyard about Charleston. Didn't know anything about it. And yet they removed almost 2,000 head of horses off Mount Charleston. They didn't have a clue, or even why they did it. Their question to me was, why did they take all those horses off there? They were so pretty. I said, they were starving to death and they will die. And when they do, they will take down the whole ecosystem. There won't be any elk, there won't be any deer, there won't even be ducks because there's nothing left to eat. Twice in my lifetime now, I've seen systems crash, and it's a horrible. I get emotional, I'm sorry, but it's a horrible thing to watch. They just die. I watched a mare come in, drink from a pond, walk out there 100 yards, lay down, and she was so full of water and so weak she couldn't get up because of the weight of the water in her belly. And here's a colt trying to. It's got to stop. Stop. I guess that's the end of my report.
We appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, could I, for the record, Dwayne Coombs, I would like to second if we, that seat on the Wild Horse Advisory Council would be a good addition for us here. I know Dr. Barry Perryman's on that, and Wade Spratley was on that for some time. I think that if there's a way that we can get, Nevada carries a majority of those horses, and so we should have plenty of representation. We just have plenty of representation.
Yeah, we actually have close to 80% of the horses.
Absolutely. We'll take that into consideration. Thank you. Any more board members out there? I think we're good soon. Okay. Awesome. We're on to, that completes the board member updates in industry. Seems pretty concerning out there, just kind of to close. Obviously the sheep industry, the feral horses, it's a lot on the plate for these industry folks individually just to deal with it. So it's something we're definitely going to look at, you know, as a board. We'll get it figured out, and with Jennifer Ott and her team as well. I'm sure we can rectify it. I know there's some small businesses out there, small producers and large producers are struggling. Hang in there. We'll hopefully have some support there for you guys too as well. So that concludes agenda item number 4. We're going to move to agenda item number 5, Director's Report.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Jennifer Ott, Director of the Department of Agriculture. So I'll start with horses.
The non-topic today.
No, as good news goes, I think we have some. As you all know, we were able, through working with our federal delegation, our Senators Cortez Masto and Senators Rosen, very graciously allowed us to apply for a community fund appropriation for the Virginia Range feral horses, and we received that. So we're working through the process now for that to go through our legislature's interim finance committee in October to receive $500,000 to keep the horses in the Virginia Range off the roadways to prevent really traffic accidents and things like that. So we're able to at least keep them back on the range. We're diversionary feeding, diversionary water to be able to keep them away from the roads. I do have, we'll release soon information about the current count of the horses on the range, and it's not as bad as we had anticipated. So our cooperative agreements are working. I think that, we were expecting well over 4,000 horses at this point, and we're not. We're well under. So
The bean shops are working. Good.
So, in the grand scheme of things, it's good news. On my report here, I'm going to skip down and really just cover some of the funding that has come to the Department of Agriculture and updates on what we're doing on that and how that's going. Our Home Feeds Nevada program launched October 26th. That is the program where we're buying agricultural products. That can be fresh fruit and vegetables. It can be meat. It could be processed product that is processed here in Nevada. And we're able to purchase that and send it to food banks. So it's giving another market avenue or an opportunity to try new products, or really just being able to work with farmers and to really improve and increase those supply chains within the state of Nevada and build those, basically our food system here within the state of Nevada. And so that launched August 26th. We've already had several applications, and we're hoping to issue funds here and buy some products shortly. The state meat and poultry inspection program, we were able to hire a project manager. So she has started and is in month 2 now, has already contacted FSIS. We have a cooperative agreement under review by the department, so we should have that in place here soon. She's already looking at the inspection regulations so that we're able to start having workshops and getting some feedback from industry on those here coming up. We're hoping maybe late fall, early winter on those regulations. And so we're excited to say that it took us a while to get a project manager in place, but we're moving forward quickly, and we're really excited about the potential success of that program. Our food security programs, with the ARPA funds that we were able to receive this past winter, we in the month of October will release the results of who will be receiving those funds for infrastructure improvements for food distribution. And so we're excited to announce those here coming up in the next month. Our commodity supplemental food program, the rebranding and the addition of fruits and vegetables inside those senior boxes is going to be launched November 1st. So that's another program that we've really have turned around quite quickly, and hoping to see some more success on that end. And then finally, the universal meals. I think the last time we met, that was still in progress, and we weren't sure how that was going to go, but we've all seen that Nevada is one of only a few states that were able to offer school children in the state free meals again for another year. That program is doing great. Our schools have been absolutely wonderful in the state, doing all of the paperwork required to get as much federal money into the state as possible, so that those state ARPA funds could be used, for not only the lunches, but, other purposes in communities. So we just, it has been a huge partnership, and frankly, within the matter of 2 months has been implemented, which is for government standards, really great and pretty amazing. So we were all able to get that done. And also we're starting to see funding flow in through the Infrastructure Act that was passed a year or so ago. We're starting to see some of that as far as projects go. The Department of Agriculture, and with the partnership of the Department of Wildlife, applied for America the Beautiful funds. That was $5 million to start and implement and address specific landscape within Nevada for native seed. And so it'll start our native seed program, lock, stock, and barrel, and also the culmination of that will be addressing the landscape as outlined in the Shared Stewardship Committee. We're targeting the Basin and Range landscape that has been identified by that committee. So we're hoping for some good news, which really precipitated our tour later on today, because we feel really good about that grant and that partnership. And so we're hoping to get those funds to be able to start that project and address the native seed shortages. And I just also wanted to outline or address, we're still at a significant staff shortage. Like many other state agencies, we're sitting at any one day at 20 to 30% vacancy rate within the Department of Agriculture. So anybody that you come across at the Department of Ag is probably doing 2 jobs. So my request is be nice to them. I myself am chief cook and bottle washer. And so we just wanted to highlight that is an ongoing issue, and just, with all of the good things that are coming and the programs we're starting, we're doing that with, people that are really passionate about their jobs, that are really, just passionate about agriculture and want to do the best by the industry. And so thank you all for the time.
So we can still pick on Doug, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Doug's used to doing 3 jobs. That's his.
As long as we can still pick on Doug.
Yes.
Does the board have any questions for Jennifer? Go ahead.
So all I asked with just a kind of comment, all I asked with the America the Beautiful Fund, 30/30 initiative, that you work with local counties on the ground.
Yeah.
Because there's some real apprehension about the 30/30 and these funds. It's got all this money sitting there. And I'll use my county as an example. Over the last 30 years, 40 years, my lifetime, they have purchased 5 ranches, turned them into either wildlife refuges or state parks. All that come off our tax rolls. That's to the tune of a county that's 1.1% taxable. The rest of it belongs to the federal government. And you come in and you take 5 ranches, that's close to 5,000 to 7,000 acres right off the top of your tax base. That hurts. So, yeah, be cognizant of that when you're dealing with the counties and your programs. And then right at this point, they still haven't defined conservation. And so,
yes, absolutely.
So the project is a project that we submitted with the Department of Wildlife. And so the confines of the project are what we're defining. And so it's truly to work with seed collection. It's to work with growers to grow the seed and build up those seed banks. And it's to store the seed for the purposes of landscape rehabilitation, post-wildfire. So, and then targeting a specific area. So I appreciate, but the project that was submitted is with, you know, our actions will be in the confines of the project, not in the confines of the act.
Mr. Chair, so right now in southern Nevada, if you had a team out there gathering seed, native seed, you could gather it by the tons. Because it's starting to seed out the salt grass, the guyana grass, the rice grass, the little short guyana, I don't know what we used to call it, curly grass. And there's, right now, now's the time to do it. Strike while the iron's hot because the seed's in. Now there's some brushes that salt brush doesn't come on because it takes longer. Probably won't make it this year. But if you're just gathering grasses, now's the time to do it.
Awesome. Anybody have any other questions for Jennifer out there? We appreciate what you do. 30% staffing, 20 to 30. That's tough. We appreciate what you guys do for sure. Keep on keeping on. So that concludes that agenda item number 5. We're going to move to agenda item number 6, plant health and compliance. Ashley.
Good morning. For the record, Ashley Jepson, Division Administrator for Plant Health and Compliance. My volume coming through okay? It's been a little bit on and off since here in Sparks. Okay, I think that's a thumbs up. I'm going with it. Well, I appreciate Director Ott covering the big $4.5 million project we put in. As I was reviewing my report this morning, I realized that was a pretty big miss on my part. The only thing I'll add to that is a huge thank you to our partners in putting in that application and our Deputy Administrator, Megan Brown. You know, they were really trying to be methodical about what we can do immediately on boots on the ground with shared stewardship and also long-term planning with those funds. And with the native seed program, if that was funded, it really would allow for some stability in that program, helping producers and helping us be effective in our restoration efforts. So fingers crossed on that, and thank you, Director Ott, for covering. You guys have the report in front of you, so I'll just cover some things that have changed or expand upon a couple of things that I think the board might find particularly interesting. So I will start on our first page here at the end, that last bullet in talking about white rot inspections. This is a big task that our Plant Health and Compliance Division accomplishes every year. It's a lot of boots on the ground to go and look for white rot. It can really be devastating to other fields, and we did have 2 detections this year fairly early on in the season. One in Gardnerville and one in Topaz. Those fields are in quarantine and cannot be in garlic production. And that really goes to show just the efforts of having staff in the fields and detecting those to prevent the spread to other fields and across Nevada, among other states. So just an update on that and where we're at. Those will continue to be monitored and quarantined in the future as well. Moving on to page 2 under service container labels. You heard me talk about this fairly extensively in the past. One of the challenges we do see in monitoring for pesticides and our licensed pest control operators is making sure that those application devices, those service containers on trucks have labels. As many of you have seen, a lot of them look exactly the same, and it can be easy to grab the wrong container and use it in the wrong area. For example, using something that's for outdoor, indoor. So one of the things we do have in regulation is that those have to be labeled. We've seen some operations struggle a little bit with that. So our team, one of the things they've really been striving to do on the education front is explain why we do require that. And we have been distributing some tags to operators to help them be successful with that. So just a testament of a lot of the education work we do. We really want to see these folks be successful and help them understand where these regulations come from and why we're doing what we're doing. So far that's been well received and successful, and we'll keep doing that as we can. Moving on to our page 3 here at the top. It's been a while since we talked about this piece of equipment, our Shavazoo atomic absorption photometer. God, I really butchered that. But you guys heard about this a few years ago in trying to get this equipment approved in our budget. It's a very expensive piece of equipment, but it is going to allow us in the future to test for heavy metals. And that would be for our fertilizer samples and cannabis. So we have the equipment in place. We're working through the logistics, and we'll be executing that service moving forward. So there will be more to come on that, but it is exciting to see an added service and another way to protect the public and industry through the department. Moving on to our entomology update, you guys have been hearing quite a bit about red imported fire ant. This one, we've continued to see an increase in detections. Unfortunately, we had, during my last update, we had 2 parks where we had detections, and we have since had 3 additional. This is quite a surge from what we've seen. This particular pest is federally regulated and is a problem in terms of they provide a pretty nasty sting. So we definitely don't want to be seeing this in our parks. We're trying to isolate where these are sourcing. We did isolate that for the initial 2 detections, but we've had a little bit more challenges with those last 3. We think it could be coming in through soil, but we're chasing that down, and we're working with Arizona and California to keep talking through where it's coming, what we can do to mitigate as best we can to keep this from coming into particularly the southern part of the state. Thankfully, it doesn't establish particularly easy. The climate isn't entirely conducive for them to proliferate, but nonetheless, things can change quickly, so we want to stay ahead of it. So we'll keep you apprised on how that continues to look, and we'll be treating those areas where there has been detection. Moving on to page 4 here in nursery, that second bullet. So one of the things, I know I talked about this a little bit in the past, but we do operate under cooperative agreements and certifications and harmonization plans. These are pest specific, and there's certain nurseries that will be certified for these pests, which means they have mitigation plans in place to try to prevent the distribution of specific pests. And in particular, this one had to do with Japanese beetle. There was a detection from the Michigan Department of Agriculture that nursery plants were shipped that were non-compliant with that certification plan. So when these types of things happen, it's all hands on deck to track down where that nursery product went and to get it disposed of. So what I wanted to kind of expand upon on that is one of the things we do is we really try to be strategic in our survey work. So when we know those types of things have happened, we trap, we monitor those locations, and it helps us to try to get ahead of these detections because it's certainly more cost effective getting ahead of it than responding to infestation. So that's something so far our team's been successful for. We have not had any detections of Japanese beetle, but something we really don't want to see in Nevada, especially with all the devastation from wildfire. So just a little bit of information on that process and kind of what we've been seeing. Okay. I do have some data for hemp. I know this has been a big topic in the past. You do see kind of continuing decrease in some of the acreage planted and applied for, but I do want to say these statistics will be a lot more accurate in December as we've finished up reporting and sampling. We're kind of just hitting that field season right now where they're out taking samples. But this is what we have reported thus far, and these numbers will likely change significantly for 22. So I'll have that for you at the next board meeting. I think that are kind of the high level things I wanted to cover. So that will conclude my update. If you have any questions.
Yes, Ashley, Paul, no. I had a question.
I appreciate it. Oh, sorry, I can't.
Can you hear me all right?
Turning you up on our end.
It's a speaker problem on their end, so turning it up on our end.
wish I could do that with my hair.
I can.
Oh,
Look
yeah.
at that. I just crank it up.
Yeah, we really want Paul to ask you a question, Ashley, and we can't hear him, so we're gonna take a 5-minute break, kind of just to get it all worked out. So we'll adjourn here for a second. Thank you.
Okay.
Maybe just go.
Or I can wait to have a discussion. I'm headed back to DC next week. Hopefully I'll have an opportunity to actually sit down and fast and raise talk to him about what the hell's going on with this. I can't believe that the land, there's something else going on. There's got to be some marketing, either they can't market through the packet going on. It's not just nobody wants it. There's a reason they don't want it. Something just
Some
don't
of the
make
breeds
sense.
when land went to $3 a pound. That's right. It's gone to $3 a pound. The market went to the grocery store. It's $22 a pound for that. 30.
I mean, of course, beef is the same thing. Now you're paying $23 or $24 a pound for the ribeye.
Disgusting, because we're on the way.
Thank you.
I know. Well, this room.
I know.
Sweaters in here. I should have brought my jacket. Yeah. Sorry. It's all right. I just think it's fun. Yeah. It's the air in this building. Off. My office is always hot. But then this part of the building is cold. Mm-hmm. I think commercial buildings are just hard in general. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just got a message from our.
Yeah, I think even if they called in Vegas, I think you'll get an echo effect.
Microphone problems in here, so let's pick it out. Microphone testing. Yeah, why is this so low? Let's see if this one's better. So that one's getting some sound.
Hey, Ray,
Yeah.
is there a laptop set up to that? Because why don't you just like take the laptop and put it on that table and they can Zoom from the laptop? It's just the two of them, right? Would that be easier and just use the laptop mic and the laptop camera?
Yeah, it's a tablet here. I've got, and there's also a dedicated microphone here right in front of me that it was set to.
Okay.
There's a couple of options. If I go to the tablet mic, I can try that.
That's actually pretty good right there.
Can you hear me now?
But the thing, he's right up on it.
I back up to over here, because I just set it to what appears to me to be like.
Well, let Ray know. Scott's trying to remote in to you, Ray, so he can adjust.
Okay. I'll have Scott handle it there.
Paul's just gotta stand on top of it.
Okay. Scott, I think the microphone array
Realtek audio was the one that I just used, and in the sound testing looked like it was picking me up pretty well. Can you hear me? Hey Scott, I was going through those sound settings and stuff. When I selected a microphone array, it seems to be that would be like a room array, and on the little sound bar in the sound settings is showing. Stop. Yeah, try that microphone array, Realtek audio. Try that one first.
Vegas always says.
How's this one? Can you hear me?
There we go. We'll re-adjourn the meeting. We got everybody in. It sounds good. Go ahead, Mr. No, you had a question for.
Thanks. We still are having a little problem receiving your voices. They're very limited.
Did you mention an Elko or is it in Sparks?
No, it's an Elko. Sparks we can hear very, very loud and clear, but Elko we can hear very.
Go ahead, Mr. No. Do you have a question for Ashley?
You have a question for Ashley? Yes.
All right, let's go. Adjourn.
All right, Ashley, can you hear me all right?
All right, 1 second.
Ashley? Can you hear me all right in Elko?
Yes, we can. You're clear now.
I cannot hear anything from Sparks at all now.
I think we're back on. I think we got muted. My apologies.
Okay. All right, Ashley. Anyway, my question is actually two. One, you said that there's been other detections of the red fire ants here in Vegas other than 2 parks.
That's correct.
Can you tell me which areas those are in or which parks or locations?
I forgot to actually write them down right before the meeting, but if I can email you directly, I will get those lists for you and then route those to you.
That would be fine, thank you. My other question is cooperative agreements between states. We have a little bit of an issue with a quarantine that Utah has for the Emerald Ash Borer, which they are not allowing any ash trees of any kind to be shipped into the state of Utah. And as far as I know, there is no cooperative agreements or plans of detection or trapping of any kind for any of the surrounding states in the West, other than Utah's quarantine. I have talked to Jeff Knight about it a little bit. He was going to talk to the entomologist in Utah, but I haven't heard anything back from him as of yet. I just talked to him late last week, but wondering if there is any way to get more information as to what can be done to abide by their quarantine, but be able to ship ash trees into the state. Do you have any information about that?
For the record, Ashley Jepson. Jeff Knight did let me know that you reached out to him. He was, as you mentioned, going to reach out to Utah. They are known for being particularly rigid on this specific quarantine out of concerns for their ash industry. But a lot of times these things are established several years ago, and whether they're reassessing, we still need to get more information. Jeff has been out. I will reach out to him to see if he's been able to glean any additional information. But I will say, I know at the last Western Plant Board meeting that I attended, Utah did present on that issue, and I did not get the impression they were looking at being more flexible. With that, we're happy to still reach out, express the concerns, and see if that has since changed, and then circle back with you. So I will track that down with Jeff and give you a call.
All right, thank you very much.
Any other questions for Ashley? Any other questions for Ashley? Something, I got my kids.
I'm here, thank you.
I do have one, Woody Worthington, for the record. Ashley, can you give us an update on the 2022 Specialty Crop Block Grant Award? Did you hear me?
Yes, I'm for the record, Ashley Jepson. I just want to clarify, are you asking me to jump into the next?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Okay. Just making sure. So yes, for the next agenda item, we do, because the Specialty Crop Block Grant Program, it's a block grant. So as part of that, we're required under NRS 353337 and NRS 241 to hold a public meeting to present that we would like to accept these funds and what that looks like, an open opportunity for comment. So there's actually, specific to this grant, to give a little background, these are funds that are routed from the United States Department of Agriculture to individual states to help support our specialty crop industry. And with that, they have to be geared at education, outreach, and research. During the 2022 competitive process, for our traditional specialty crop grant, we did have 6 applications that were routed to USDA for funding. And as part of this agenda item, we would like to present that we have 6. They're geared at the full gamut that I just discussed: education, research, and working to increase production. With that, there is an additional award, and this is a one-time award that came through, and it's known as the Specialty Crop Block Grant HR 133 program. And this was a one-time allocation to help support this industry with COVID-related challenges. So we have routed 7 applications, about half of which are going towards COVID and the other half more towards traditional specialty crop grant. We didn't get the number of applications COVID related that we expected, though we did do 2 rounds and multiple outreach initiatives. So that's kind of the update on those 2 programs. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but again, this is part of the process for accepting those funds.
Awesome. Any questions for Ashley on that? Perfect. All right, well, thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. I got you ahead of schedule there, but I don't think there's any further questions from the board. Appreciate your update. And then we'll move to agenda item number 7, animal industry.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Doug Ferris, I'm the administrator for the Division of Animal Industry. I'll start with our first part here is the pending matters of significance. I know one thing we've talked about for a long time now is the rebuilding of the livestock inspection program, which I think is in full swing at this point. So some of the highlights to that were that we're approved to hire 30 part-time brand inspectors, which for a time we did have 30, and then we had 1 retire. So, but we currently employ 29 state employed brand inspectors, and we have people applying for the 1 vacant position now. We also were approved for 20 contracted positions that we can retain those if needed. We don't have all 20 filled right now. We don't have the need, or we haven't received the applicants. So, but that's there. So we do have a buffer in that. Okay. Also, with that, we did create new job class specifications for the 3 full-time inspector positions. So it's a supervisor over the entire, all the brand inspectors, and then 2 supervisory positions that oversee the part-time positions. We've gone through almost all of that process of getting those through all the channels they had to be through to get approved. We're waiting for one final approval, and once we have that, we'll open those positions. We actually have interest from some current people in the department that are interested in those 3 positions. So we hope to fill those as quick as possible once we get there. Also, part of that was to replace all the iPads that we had out there because they're so outdated. So we did receive approval, and we're doing like a Surface Pro, like a book type. That's more of a ruggedized computer, and it can also be remoted in. So right now, if we have issues with an iPad in Elko or somewhere, we actually have to somehow get it to Spark so it can be worked on. This way, they'll be able to remote in and fix any issues with that. So we see that as a benefit. And then we were also we were trying to implement an electronic program for the 2 public livestock auctions in Fallon, because everything's still done on paper there, and we have a time lapse, and also for records and everything else to try and follow up on is difficult. The one company we identified actually stopped making their product, so now we're investigating some other avenues to maybe get that implemented. So moving on to our partnership activities, we renewed the non-exclusive cooperative agreement with Wild Horse Connection in August of 2022. And then American Wild Horse Campaign, we renewed that non-exclusive cooperative agreement in May of 22. So those are both valid for insurance from those dates. Along with that, I know the director kind of talked a little bit about the flyover survey that was completed joint between BLM and NDA of the Virginia Range area. And after all the data was compiled and put together, they estimated 3,567 feral stray horses in the Virginia Range area. Moving on to our program updates. There's a lot in here, so I think there's like 5 pages. So I'll kind of hit some of the highlights, and then if anybody has questions, I can go back to that. I know one of them that's a topic of conversation is the regulation changes to NEC 571, which includes trichomoniasis. With that, right now we have 2 tentative dates for workshops upcoming. One is October 18th in Elko. One is October 19th in Winnebago, and those are both in person. So those are tentative. We haven't announced it yet, but that's what we're looking at. And then possibly holding 1 or 2 others and trying toward farther west or something like that, or down south if there's a dates, excuse me. October 18th in Elko and October 19th in Winnebago. But those just tentative right now. That's what we're open for. All right.
Because we're working out the details of trying to get that second date cast statewide so that people can come to like a cooperative extension office or something like that. So
that's we're trying to do something like that so it can be in person and televised or sent out to all 17 counties if possible, so we can try to get as much input as possible. So if I move or I can move up front, or that help I make. Oh, so it should be good. Okay.
Command.
Yeah. All right. Then with the program updates, I'll also say under veterinary medical services, there are some things that I'm just going to kind of touch on. We have, as far as disease investigations throughout the state, we still have the rabbit hemorrhagic fever. We did have a detection of highly pathogenic avian influenza in Carson. So that we may end up with some more of that. We'll see as things continue them. And then also, I don't know if anybody, there was quite a bit of talk about, we did have a facility down in Las Vegas where we detected EIA, that the facility was placed under quarantine. We've been working with them. I actually flew down. We had in-person meetings because there were a lot of questions being asked. And I actually like to thank board member Dave Kuhn because he attended the in-person meeting with me. So I think that helped that they knew NDA was devoted to working with them and trying to get a solution for this. So we have updated that quarantine order that all the horses at this facility can begin testing on September 24th and have to be done testing by September 27th. That way we can try and process things as fast as possible. As long as everything comes back negative, we'll be able to lift that quarantine there. And I think one other one I wanted to hit on here a little bit for in our dairy program, we actually we ended up putting together a whole new team. We had some people retire and leave that program. And with the new team we have in place, it's been very successful as far as completing audits that haven't been done for 4 and 5 years. So we're getting back into compliance and kind of jumping leaps and bounds at that point. Then with there, I have the industry impact update, or do you want questions?
We'll do, we can do questions before, so
Okay.
Any board members have questions for Mr. Ferris?
Mr. Chair, and Mr. Ferris, for the record, Dwayne Combs, and this may be kind of just for my self-edification. I know that in the past, the dedicated law enforcement officers, there was some glitch with being able to get them state PERS or something as a law enforcement, because there isn't that a special status where it's a higher risk job. Have we been able to iron some of that out so that these guys that are really law enforcement officers can get the same benefits that the troopers and those guys can get?
For the record, Doug Ferris, thank you for the question. So we are working on that. I think I've been working on it ever since I've been here because they didn't qualify. I'll say we did get some statute changes through the last legislative session that opened things up to where they actually fall under the heart and lung bill. And then that also, we rewrote their job classifications and the specifications, which shows that they are the same. I mean, as far as performing law enforcement duties, they're the same as a state trooper or a county deputy as far as what they're doing in the at-risk. So I have worked with PERS on that. We've got, as far as their title changes that were done in the legislature, we still have to submit a justification and a detailed job description to justify that to PERS. And then we'll actually have to present that to their police fire board in the future. So it's in progress.
Is there something that the board, can we help with that as far as putting some urgency with those folks? These guys are out there on their own. There's no, and they're, and I know of several of them that they actively go on backup for the troopers, for the deputies. Is there something that the board can do to help you with that process?
I would say, for the record, that first, at this point, that it's in my court, I guess, to finish writing up the justification. I think if once we submit that to the police fire board, if we have the backing of the board for the agriculture, I do think that would help. I mean, it would justify it more. I think a lot's in the language and how you explain things and how you show. I know they tried for it previously, and I read the justification, and it just didn't. It didn't describe their duties like you're saying. I mean, all of our law enforcement staff have a pretty close working relationship with the troopers in their area and the counties that they work with on a daily basis. So, yeah, that's.
Yeah, I've just seen these guys pull in behind a trooper on a highway stop, and those kinds of things. And we do have some good. Those three guys, folks are really top notch. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Jennifer, off the record, I just wanted to give Doug credit. We're farther than we've ever been, and we're almost to the finish line on the activities. Part of the 14 bills that were passed, last legislative session was to address this issue, and it was a huge priority of the department, and we're almost there.
Fantastic.
So yeah, they've really put in the work to get it done.
Thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, I have a question. Woody Worthington for the record. So right now you have 29 brand inspectors, correct?
Yes.
And you're looking at hiring one state.
Employed, so we'll be full state employed at 30.
Awesome. And then at one given time, you can hire another 20 if needed for hire.
For the record, yes, that's correct. A contracted position. Again, we do have a few right now, but not the full 20.
Okay. And how readily available are they? Just depends, I guess, if you needed to.
As far as
if you needed to, activate them, get them ready to go, help support big event.
what those are active.
Oh,
So,
awesome. Okay.
so yeah, so we have some even in the, I believe in the Arrington area, there's 3 right now that are all still contracted. They were previously brand inspectors. They're contracted positions and they just stayed on. So those 3 are still in that area and still working whenever they're called out.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Doug. Great job. Any other questions from board? Okay, no, go ahead. Finish. Do you have any more or is that it?
I'm just pulling up his.
Okay. Yeah, one little added piece there.
Gotcha.
All right, for our industry impact portion, I kind of wanted to highlight our dairy program. I guess I'm going on 2 years now, I think, of taking over that program. So I've been learning the whole time as well. But I also, every day I learn. I met with Dr. Lisa Burnett, who's our operations manager yesterday to go over this presentation. And I'm still learning, but I thought it was something that in my time in agriculture, I'd never seen that really promoted or put out there. So I think Dave Kuhn probably knows the program very well, but I thought it may be beneficial to everybody else to put out there a little bit of what they do. So the FDA regulates the grade A milk program for the United States and then for the state of Nevada. There's some facts in here that actually Dr. Burnett was going to present this, but she's actually doing dairy farm inspections today. So that's because we do have a staffing vacancy there, like the director was talking about. So we're kind of spread thin. With that, I'll just kind of skip down. We do have the pasteurized milk ordinance is what we've adopted through our regulations. And that's an FDA guideline as far as how everything is done and inspected at the dairy farms, at the facilities, powder plants, wherever they may be. Everything falls under that, and that's where we use our authority to oversee that program. These are I won't read through all of these, but these are part of the dairy grade A dairy program. These are the duties that are carried out by our inspectors and our staff of the dairy program. And like I said, it goes from start to finish. If there's a new facility going in, or a remodel facility, or one that's up and operating, they're there inspecting, whether it be the water for cross-contamination issues, for drug residue, things like that. We have our own dairy laboratory, and then the dairies have their own laboratories on site, and we also inspect those laboratories to make sure everything's in conformance. The dairy farm inspections, this is again kind of a highlight of everything they do when they go out to do a dairy farm inspection. Those are all the type of things that we're looking for and that we're evaluating those dairy farms on. This is just a picture of the milking barn that Lisa included. And then a milk house. And the animal drug reviews. So the inspectors are verifying the label, how their storage, and ensuring that we aren't having a contamination of the milk because of drug residues. The water, we do well water samples once every 3 years, and then recirculated chilled water is sampled and tested every 6 months for coliforms and E. coli. Oh, it's coming up. Nope, sorry. Either way, if this, I won't read through all of that, but that's some of that's where Lisa was explaining a lot to me yesterday. So as far as the standards for raw milk, the milk hauler evaluations, we also do that. So the trucks that are transporting all the milk from the dairy farms to the plants. So those are checked, sampled, and we also license those haulers. They're licensed through us so that they know the safe practices in hauling and sampling of those that they're transporting. The milk tank truck inspections, the second part of that. So it's not only the drivers, the haulers of the milk, but it's the trucks themselves that are being evaluated and inspected. The processing plants, once the milk's made it from the truck to the plant, these are all of the areas that we cover when we're inspecting those facilities as well. That's a picture of the milk powder plant in Fallon when it was being built. So it's up in full production, but our inspectors inspect that as well. The milk sampler evaluation. So this is for the staff at the dairy farms that are doing their own sampling. We also evaluate them to ensure that they're following all the guidelines and in compliance with the same rules and everything that our inspectors do for the state to make sure that we keep the milk safe.
Right, last time I was there for a tour, it's 2 million gallons a day.
At the powder plant.
Yeah.
I was told they can't mix that milk until it passes inspection.
That's right.
And they can offload them. I guess they got tanks that they can offload on them. I was talking to one of the truck drivers. And I said, yeah, we gotta sit there and wait till that passes inspection.
Right. Yeah.
Even though it's offloaded, we've already pumped it off into a.
Yeah. There's multiple checks to ensure that. Yeah. Exactly. As far as the industry, the antibiotic certification, so the dairy labs do this themselves, but then we also do it on a basis that we'll pull the samples, bring them in, and that's a picture. It's a small picture, but that's a Sparks laboratory where we have our microbiologists working and doing samples on both milk and water samples that come in from throughout the state.
Just random, or do you test every load that comes through the state test randomly? Or?
No, some of it's random because it's on a time basis. So for whether it's 4 months, 6 months, or annual. So
plants actually test every load.
Right. Yeah. Yep. These are some of the pathogens that are of concern and what our staff look for to ensure we don't have that in any of our milk supply. Pasteurization equipment testing. So our staff even they do that as well, to where they're checking, or it even goes as far as if they have a broken seal, they actually have to notify NDA. One of our staff members has to go out and ensure that everything is still correct. Reapply the seal before they can proceed in processing of that milk and pasteurization process. These include a couple pictures of different pasteurizers here. This one, the high temperature short time. I learned this yesterday, so I thought it was interesting to me. But when you go to a restaurant and they have the little cups of milk, I always wondered how that worked, because I thought milk needs to be refrigerated. And so Lisa was explaining that's what the ultra high pasteurization is for. I honestly didn't know that myself. So I learned something there yesterday with that. Just a second picture of that, I believe. The laboratory requirements, she's listed those out, and again, some of the data, that's where we're listed out every 4 to 6 months by NDA staff. So it's on a schedule throughout the year, but then it's random when it does happen, and they go out on between 4 and 6 months. The single service manufacturer, so this is any bottle that's going to contain a dairy product or plastic product that's going to contain that. Those have to be inspected, and then they also every 6 months they have to send their whether it's a cap or whether it's the bottle itself, has to be sent out to their own laboratory and have it tested as well. And with that, I listed Dr. Burnett's information on there, because she can probably answer a lot more questions than I can. That's my best overview of this. So if there's any questions, she's more than happy to follow up and answer some, or I can as well.
Support have any questions for Doug? Thank you, appreciate that. I do. How big is the inspection team that you have for?
So our inspection team right now consists of would be Dr. Burnett, who's the operations manager, and we have 2 inspectors in Las Vegas office, and should be one inspector in the Sparks office, and that position's vacant right now. And
So how many is that then? Total 3, 4?
so for
Three statewide. Okay.
yeah, and then also we have a microbiologist that works at the Sparks laboratory. Yeah, so they stay very busy.
How many operating areas are there? Just out of curiosity.
He's like,
I'm
"Oh,
sorry.
I
looked
at
Rewind that
Not
phone
your
up.
deal. I'm sorry.
I bet you Dave would answer. I had it, but I don't even want to go throw it out there. I know Lisa told me before, but I don't have it off the top of my head. I'm
Well,
sorry.
it's kind of just my curiosity.
This is part of that harassed duck part.
More to come.
Any other questions out there? Mr. Coons, you good down in Vegas? Any questions for Doug? Comments?
Just that question, where that question come from is, do we have enough inspectors to meet the demand of the facilities, dairy facilities that need to be checked? That was where I was going with that question.
It is,
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we have, with only having 3 dedicated inspectors and 1 being gone, I mean, we do end up incurring overtime or call outs on weekends, especially for like broken seals. I mean, you have thousands of gallons of milk
Can't
sitting
shut that
there.
dairy down.
No, we have to respond.
Pretty
as
quick,
soon
you
as
get
possible.
overflow milk out on the,
Right.
cows keep giving it whether you want to take it or not.
Any other questions for Doug? Right, I think you're up.
No. Thank you.
All right, we're going to move to agenda item number 8, measurements and standards. Cadence.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Cadence Matievich, Administrator for the Division of Measurement Standards. I'll just confirm that you can hear me all right. I see the thumbs up. Thank you. Good morning. I just have a few highlights that I want to cover from the written report that should be included in your package and available for members of the public online. The first of which I'm pleased to report this month at this meeting of the board that we have made some progress on an issue that we've been updating you on at your last couple of board meetings, and that is in regard to the ongoing issue that we've had over the last couple of winters with pervasive clogging of diesel motor vehicle and equipment dispenser filters. And we have continued to work with Kinder Morgan, the operator of the pipeline that supplies, the operator of the only pipeline that supplies liquid fuel products by pipeline to the Northern Nevada region. And they undertook some additional analysis this summer and after completing that have agreed that the findings from the third-party laboratory that the Department of Agriculture had engaged, and also a third-party laboratory engaged by a member of industry, that the highly probable cause of the filter clogging is the presence of an organic compound called stearamide. And so they have taken action to source an alternative drag-reducing agent to be used in their pipeline in the upcoming season. They were working through some issues around infrastructure, injection, and supply before putting that different product into use. I did speak with a representative of Kinder Morgan this morning, and they have indicated that they are targeting late next week or early the following week to begin full use of that new product, DRA product, without the presence of stearamide in the pipeline, and that will continue on indefinitely. So, as we start to see overnight temperatures come down into the colder levels, we're pleased that they've been able to make that progress and anticipate that they'll be able to put that into use. I did note in your report, and I think it's important to raise for the board and members of industry and the public who may be listening today, that for those retailers or wholesalers who do still have supply on hand of product that is delivered before that change in the DRA, that they could see that filter clogging issue return if they still have those inventories on hand that were received before the switchover. So certainly, hopefully those they'll be sold through and distributed prior to the temperatures turning colder when this issue would return. We are highly optimistic that this solution will indeed address the problem. However, we did encourage, and Kinder Morgan did confirm that they have additional laboratory analysis capacity available to them through third-party laboratories should, for whatever reason, all of us have been wrong on this and this doesn't solve the problem. So we're in a position where if it does not, we can take additional steps, but we are highly optimistic that this will resolve this issue. So I'm happy to answer any questions on that particular subject, Mr. Chairman, or I can continue through my report at your direction.
No, thank you. I know it's been a long fight, but it sounds like you got it figured out, hopefully on that. Thanks, Katie. Go ahead.
Yes. So just a couple of other highlights that I'll point out on our administrative rulemaking. We do have 2 regulations that will go before the Legislative Commission next week for approval, including R03721, which your board approved at your last meeting. So we look forward to gaining Legislative Commission approval on those 2 regulatory files. We continue to work with stakeholders and the Legislative Counsel Bureau on revised language for R038-21. That is the regulation pertaining to E15 gasoline. So we continue to work on that, and I'm hopeful that perhaps we could bring a new revised version of that before the board in December if we're able to finish a few dotting of I's and crossing of T's here in the next couple of weeks. But certainly, if we're not able to bring the regulation for your adoption, we will certainly bring an update. And then we do have another regulation that is under the authority of the state sealer that will be coming forward for adoption next month. And then we do have a few other regulations that we are just starting out in the survey and economic impact process on. So we continue to work on the department's strategic goals to modernize our regulatory framework here in the Division of Measurement Standards. Program updates are there for you. You know, these were reported fairly early in the fiscal year, so I know that those numbers are not necessarily all that staggering, if you will, but our team continues their good work in the field, conducting inspections of devices, price verification inspections, advertising accuracy inspections across retail locations throughout Nevada. And that concludes my formal report, and would be pleased to answer any questions that the board may have.
Does the board have any questions for Cadence?
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cadence. I appreciate what you and your team do, and your staff is small too as well. There's a few meters out there, so great job once again. Keep up the good work. We're going to move to agenda item number 9, food and nutrition. Omar, are you out there?
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the board. For the record, Homa Anushapur, Administrator for the Division of Food and Nutrition. I start with the pending matters of significance. We received over $7.8 million for the second round of supply chain assistance fund to distribute to school food authorities to assist those school districts that are experiencing supply chain disruption. The fund exclusively must be used to purchase domestic products that are unprocessed or minimally processed, and we are going to allocate the funds to school districts based on the predetermined USDA formula. We are also utilizing our state administrator funds to develop a summer food service program, mobile-friendly web page to provide feeding site location to the community And this webpage will also provide meal service time, days of operation, contact information, menus. And we are launching it, we are scheduled to launch it on September 30th to work with it and identify any glitches and have it ready for the summer of 2023. In terms of partnership activities, we are continuing to work with Division of Welfare and Supportive Services and Nevada Department of Education on pandemic EBT to execute the USDA approved plan for the school year 21-22, and it will be issued by September, between September 14 and 23 to qualifying students. We also continue to collaborate with Department of Health and Human Services and Division of Public and Behavioral Health on obesity prevention steering that I have reported previously. It's an ongoing collaboration. In terms of program update, I also have to indicate that most of the numbers that I provided today are for the month of July, the start of the fiscal year, and we didn't have August number by the time we submitted this board report, but I will report the first quarter in the next board meeting. So with the food distribution, the emergency food assistance program, clients continue to receive food through the two food bank of Northern Nevada and 3 Square and their network of community. And I have the number that we served over 27,000 individuals through food bank and 74,000 through 3 Square. In terms of commodity supplemental food program, we served over 1,700 seniors in July and providing a monthly food package to income eligible seniors 60 years of age. And through Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, we distributed over 4,600 coupon booklets worth $184,000 to the community agency partner. And we have currently 54 farmers certified to accept the coupons at the Nevada Farmers Market. We also received local food, we applied and received local food purchase assistance grant for $4 million through the USDA Agricultural Marketing Service to support the Home Feed Nevada program that the goal is to purchase locally sourced food for distribution to community in need. And I have numbers for you for lunch served through just for the month of July, breakfast and snack for the month of July. And we also received grant for our school nutrition program. One is the fresh food and vegetable grant, about over 471,000 to make sure that elementary age children have access to fresh produce. And also we received over 237,000 equipment grant through our national school lunch program to distribute to our sponsors for equipment assistance to purchase equipment, especially kitchen equipment. And also the number, we approved 73 sponsors for National School Lunch and including 6 brand new sponsors. And again, these are the number for a month of July for the school lunch and also childcare adult program and summer food service program for this start of fiscal year. That concludes my report. I'm ready for any questions.
Board have any questions for Oma?
Mr. Chairman, Dwayne Coombs for the record. I know in our last, I think it was our last meeting, we talked about how these the food banks were really getting a lot of pressure. Is that starting to come back a little bit, or do they still, are those food banks still seeing a really high number of folks utilizing?
They are still high, but they are not as high as pandemic time, and but it is more than pre-pandemic. They are talking about 125,000. Food Bank was talking about serving 125,000, not just through our programs, through all their other programs. But based on conversation we had, it's still the demand is high, but not as high as pandemic time.
Thank you.
Any other questions for them? great job. I'd like to highlight you and your team. Good job on that. And that Home Feeds Nevada, I got to highlight that too. I got to say the Department of Ag really put that together. That's pretty remarkable type program. So, and you buy producers locally and then it goes to you and then you buy it. It's a pretty awesome project. Good job.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's phenomenal. Just to have, that's what it was shocking to me, the number of folks that were relying on those. And if we could use their products, good on you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions out there or comments? Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving right along, agenda item number 10, everybody hanging in there. We had that intermission where I think we could push through here. Administrative services, Jerry, are you out there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you. Jerry Conrad, for the record, Deputy Director for the Department of Agriculture. I believe you all have a copy of the board report for Division of Administrative Services with you. I'll hit a few points. A lot of this you've heard in other division reports. But if you have any questions on anything, just let me know. So first up is trade and economic development. We have a couple here focused on the craft beverage industry, including a trade mission to Toronto, where we had a few Nevada companies who attended. And then the 2022 Nevada Craft Beverage Passport is still out there and folks are using that. I think it goes through, January 5th for folks to turn in their completed passports to get prizes. And the team is in the process of planning next year's passport. We had our second Nevada Food and Agricultural Photo Contest that just closed, and those are in the process of being judging, photos being presented to the judges. We were very happy with our response last year, and we're looking forward to what we see this year. It seems like a lot of Nevadans have had some fun with that. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see some of those photos, but there's some in the Las Vegas office now and some in the Sparks office, and we'll be using some of those in materials as well. The Q2 2022 trade report has been released. I'll move on to some communication news. And again, some of these things you've heard about, but we also have some of our kind of regular communications around vaccinating against rabies, avian influenza detection, equine infectious anemia, those kinds of things. The team is also continuing to produce our monthly newsletters and our industry updates. Hopefully everybody is receiving those. And if not, you can sign up on our website. We also have various educational and promotion materials that have been produced recently, and you'll see this list here. Regular communications and support for the governor's office. We've, of course, continuing to respond to our public records requests. We have a draft of a language access plan that you guys should have heard about in case you'd like to give any input. And then getting ready to start the new cohort of the Nevada Women's Farm to Food Business Accelerator. Any questions?
Is there any questions out there for the board? Comments? I like the new pictures on the wall. They look pretty good. They're not
Great.
1950s, although I do like vintage. But did you say 11,000 passports on the first rollout?
Yes.
That's how close is that to your number that you guys anticipated? Did you have to produce some more, or how did that go down there?
We did. We had to do another run. And Jen, I don't remember what the initial run was. Do you recall?
Approximately 4,000.
Oh, yeah. So there we go.
That's pretty remarkable. Do you have
Yes.
background on that as far as it's just being in Nevada? How did those passports, was there impact throughout people utilizing it?
Yeah, it's just in Nevada.
Okay.
And throughout Nevada, I wish I was there in person. I'd show you my passport, but I think you guys probably saw them in the very beginning. And initially, I know, we had very good reception. And we have tourists with passports. I have Sierra's on it. She's got me a little note here. We've had tourists submit passports with enough stamps for prizes. So it is, although it's just, geared, or it's just focused here in Nevada, obviously we have our share of tourists, and certainly getting them out to Nevada establishments that have craft beverages is, a good draw from a tourism standpoint, and also kind of gives them a little bit of information about what's happening in agriculture in Nevada.
Awesome. Way to connect the dots, man. That's pretty good. Thank you. You and your team too. Any other questions or comments for Jerry? You're off the hook. Great job.
Thank you.
So much. I appreciate it. We're going to move to agenda item number 11, the public comment. We're going to open that up. Anything out there in the web? Anybody?
Again, if anyone joining us online would like to provide public comment, if you hover over your name over there, you should be able to raise your hand, and I will call on you to unmute.
You're crickets, so I take it that's.
Oh, no, Leanna Carey.
Oh, Leanna, good job.
Can I go ahead, you guys?
Go ahead, Leanna. Thank you.
Oh, hi, Woody. Hi, everybody. I certainly don't want to give misinformation, and I have put it in chat, but I have very, very good reason to believe Endow is paying taxes on the ranches that they're purchasing. Unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, the owners of the properties that want a quick sale because it didn't work out for them go to Endow directly. And Endow goes and looks at their property, assesses it, and purchases the property. And the properties maintain and stay on the tax roll. That is my understanding directly from Endow. Please look into that so we can clear this myth up. Thank you.
Thanks, Leanna. Any other public comments out there? All right, none here, none there. Mr. Barlin, maybe you has a public comment.
Just kind of an outreach. So Clark County, Lincoln County, in the process of purchasing an 80-acre piece of ground in Cutting Valley for extension. I've noticed over the years since I've been on this board that just lately I've been deeper involved with extension because they're going to be managing this property. I've got a deeper understanding of what they do, and a lot of what they do duplicates what we're doing, only on a state level. They're actually on the ground working with youth and adults both. Is there any way that, especially with this camp that we just purchased, the whole objective of this camp is training and education. And so I think there's a window there for the Department of Ag to work in conjunction with extension to make some things happen. Especially, I mean, sitting here listening to these reports today, that's amazing. I mean, if you could incorporate those reports and the people that are working with those reports, incorporate with what Ag Extension is doing right now. I mean, what an educational tool that would be for youth, especially for kids. Most of the kids that are going to use that facility are going to come out of Las Vegas they don't know where their milk comes from, let alone an egg. They probably never eat an egg again if they knew where it comes from. But anyway, so yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity there to connect with, you know, the Dean. They got a, what's his name, Dean? Payne, Dean Payne.
Chris.
And we just got a new director to Jacob B. Decker. Was really interested, so you might reach out to him and maybe see if we could put something together, put some meetings together. I'll sit with you if you want. How the end of it. Be a part of the programming that goes on there. Because there's a lot of science, a lot of education that comes right out of Carson City with the laboratories and everything they have.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go
For the record, Dwayne Combs, and I just wanted a little bee in my bonnet about follow up with Leanna's comment. One of the things that always worries me with purchase of agricultural properties for conservation, whether that's part of wildlife. There's an aspect of this beyond just the tax roll. There's a you know, and if you go back into the economics of these rural counties, there's a multiplier effect of what comes off of you know, say Pete's sheep outfit. There's a multiplier effect economically in those communities that we lose when these properties get, and it's beyond just tax rolls. And I'm trying to remember in my mind what it is. It's like 2.5 times what Pete produces off of his sheep outfit. 2.5 times of that will go back into the economic cycle in that county or in those communities. And I think that we need to address that. When we lose these properties in active agriculture, we lose more than just the tax roll. We lose more than just, and in my view, honestly, I think we lose a lot of wildlife values as well. You know, if we look at some of these properties that are conservation only, the wildlife will follow the ag out of those properties. And so I think that we need to, and I don't know how to tell that story, but I think it's a story that the Department of Ag, you know, and another, and this was an incident that I talked with Director Rod about. You know, the impact of agriculture goes way beyond agriculture. This summer, as we were putting cattle up into kind of an isolated part of our rangeland, we came on just a kind of a trashy looking camp. And at first I thought it was somebody that was cooking meth up there. They'll pull these old trailers out and just set up their lab. And so because of the permittee out on an isolated parcel of BLM land, we were able to work with Elko County, with the Sheriff's Department, with the Nevada Gold Mines security, go in there and those guys, you know, as a permittee, we backed away from it. Elko County and Nevada Gold Mines security dealt with this, and the folks had pulled out, but it was because agriculture was actively on the ground in these areas that, and they felt like that it was probably somebody, you know, the fentanyl that's coming in now is coming in liquid form, and they thought it was probably going to be a pill factory. You know, and I think that these are stories that I think that we need to figure out how to tell, that this not only this economic role from agriculture in these rural communities, but nature pours a vacuum, and when we get when there's nobody there, then the riffraff shows up. And you know, like I said, I maybe that's just me feeling like I did a good thing, but I really believe that there's, you know, you see this happen a lot, and there's lots of bad stuff going on.
in the world, and we don't need it in our communities.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Any other public comment? Any other public comment? Hearing none, let's make is there a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Higgins, for the record, I'll put it to adjourn.
There's a first, is there a second? There's a second. First and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. It's so moved, we adjourn. Thank you.